This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Know-How is brought to you by CashFly.
This episode of Know-How is brought to you by Braintree. Mobile app development can be complex, but integrating your payments no longer has to be. With Braintree, your business can accept nearly every type of payment from any device with just one integration. Learn more at braintreepayments.com/knowhow. And by Tracker, a coin-sized tracking device that pairs with your smartphone and keeps you from losing your most valued possessions. Visit thetracker.com right now and enter promo code KNOWHOW to receive a free Tracker Bravo with any purchase. On today's show,
the holiday gift guide for the Arduino geek in your family.
Welcome to Know-How. It's the Twitch show where we build, bend, break, and upgrade. I am Father Robert Ballas.
And I'm Brian Burnett.
And for the next however many minutes it takes, we're going to show you some of the stuff we've been geeking out with so you can take it home and geek out on your own.
That's right.
Cranky Hippo, how you be?
I'm doing good. I'm excited about this episode.
Yeah, you know, this is something that has been requested quite a bit over the last couple of weeks. People have been saying, look, I love the Arduino 101 stuff. I have either a child or I have, a friend or even like an adult who would like to learn a bit more about Arduino. How do I buy a startup kit? And there are plenty of startup kits out there, some very, very nice ones actually, but they tend to be a bit expensive for what's actually in the kit.
They do. It's hard to justify the investment if you haven't played with one before.
Yeah.
And that kind of negates the whole reason of buying a starter kit anyway.
Precisely. And I mean, when you're buying a starter kit for $60 that has $8 worth of components in it, I mean, sometimes it's for a good cause.
Right.
It's to make, which actually helps support
You just
want
to give it as a gift or something like that. Yeah.
Precisely. But I mean, what if I told you that for that same $60 you could buy
three
dozen
Arduinos
kits? I mean, seriously, it's like that. It's like buying so many extra parts that you can do not just one kit or two kits or three kits, but you could have a lot of extra parts to spare.
That's right, and especially if you go on eBay and you look for fake Dinos, those ones go pretty cheap.
Yes, because they're not great.
Yeah, and then they burn out when you're trying to do a project.
By the way, have you noticed something?
Yeah, what happened to your watch? You've been wearing that like solid 4 or 5 months, it seems like.
So yesterday I found out that the Moto 360 is not actually waterproof.
It's not?
No.
But that's like the active one.
I know, right?
It's not waterproof?
It's not waterproof. It's very not waterproof.
So what happened? It just
I was out in the rain. I was doing some work in the garden. I had the watch on.
Just in the rain?
Yeah, and it just started like rebooting. I'm like, well,
no.
What? And then overnight, it just now won't even. It's
supposed to be water
resistant, but it doesn't start up at all.
That's bad.
That's bad.
That's really bad. Well, it's okay because Motorola is not making them anymore.
I know, exactly. And also now it gives us an opportunity to tear one apart.
Oh yeah. Oh totally. Did you bring it with you today?
No, it's in a bag of rice.
You're gonna try and save it.
I'm gonna try to save it first.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. But we're not here to talk about Padre's unfortunately dead Moto 360. Instead, let's go ahead and start assembling an Arduino 101 kit for our loved ones. Now, the first thing that you want to do is you don't just want to hand someone a bag of parts. That's not real holiday-like. It's not real Christmassy.
No.
You could do that. I mean, if you
if you put a bow on it, then it's fine, right?
No, not even a bow.
Oh.
Instead, what you want to do is you want to try to get a components box. Now, on our Amazon, I found these. These are actually quite good. We've got a link here, Alex. These are about $11 for a pair. And the nice thing about these is that they've got these removable dividers so that you can customize this to fit exactly the components that you want in there. So, for example, in one of these boxes, I've been able to put sets of Arduinos, switches, a bunch of wiring and harnesses, and even MUBEX. So if you go to the overhead, Alex, this is what this thing will look like. And you can remove these dividers in between them in case you want longer channels.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, this is sort of a standard. Nothing special here. You can find those that are as big or as small as you want them to be, but I found that this was kind of the perfect size. I can make like a dozen of these kits, just have them on a shelf, and whenever I need to go out, I just grab one of the kits, and I know that there's the basics of an embedded Arduino system inside of it.
Right. It's always a good idea to get organized early before you get all the components into, when you have all the components and they're just in a pile to after the fact, it's always a pain to have to go through it.
I'm glad you brought that up because that's actually a very important part for makers and DIYers. You have a tendency to order in waves because you'll be sitting there, you'll be working on something, you go, oh God, I need this, and so you're gonna order that, but you're like, well, as long as I'm ordering that, why didn't I order this, because I'm probably gonna do this project, and as long as I'm ordering from eBay, let's get some from Amazon.
You save on shipping that way.
Exactly.
Bulk.
And so what will happen is you'll end up getting like 15 boxes, all with their little teeny tiny bags, and you only open up the ones that you need right now, and everything else just goes into a big box. Well, eventually, you get a big box, you're like, I don't want to sort this stuff.
So when we left the studio from the basement, the old no-hole, I had everything in it was just wires and resistors and LEDs all thrown into one big box, and that's why I'm thinking I should have had containers to begin with.
Precisely. But now we need something to put into the containers, and the first thing you're going to want to start off with are Arduinos, specifically the Arduino Nanos. Now, we found a good source for this. It's not the cheapest, but I trust them, and they actually do have good quality parts. This is from Banggood. It's going to cost you about 14 bucks for a pack of 5.
Oh.
So, it's not all that pricey. And what it will allow you to do is, actually, if you go to this is a kit that I have finished. I've got a set of Arduinos here, and I actually, this kit should have 5 of them. I think I'm down to 4 or 3 because I've used up a couple. But the nice thing is, again, when you grab the kit, the Arduinos are in here.
Right. Wait, where are the Arduinos?
Right here.
Oh, yeah.
Look at those. Okay. Cute ones. See? So these are actually the ones from Banggood. I keep them in their ESD, their electrostatic device bags.
Good idea.
Because it is in a plastic case.
Right.
Plastic generates static.
And you have a tendency to walk around in your socks on carpet frequently, right?
While stroking a long-haired cat.
Yeah, exactly. While vacuuming.
And turning on the dehumidifier so it gets really, really dry.
Yeah, so it's a good idea to keep them in that.
Yeah. Okay. So you've got an Arduino. Now, there are a lot of different choices. We have recommended these large ones. We like the large ones because they are easier to prototype on.
Right.
They already have the pins, so I don't have to solder anything onto the board to make my connections.
Right.
However, once you actually start getting into the project part, where you're going to be building something that's going to stay in situ for a long time, I kind of like the Nanos.
Especially for remember the LED goggles project and stuff it's that wouldn't have worked.
Doing this, I mean, it might be cool if it's like a board costume, but that's not a real cyberpunk.
Right. So, but once you have your project prototyped out, then you move to the Nano.
Precisely. Okay, now we've got our case, we've got an Arduinos. What we need are UBECs. Now, you've seen me use these before. These are the wonderful UBECs, and we found a source for them on Banggood. If you go, there you go. So this is a wait, what is that? That is a pack of several. That's way more expensive than it's supposed to be.
5 volt.
Yeah, these are supposed to be about $3. So something's up with the pricing on this link right now. But you can get these between $2 and $3. If you go to eBay, you can get them a tiny bit cheaper. But I kind of like the ones that they've got in Banggood.
Right.
This one will take anything from 5.5 to 26 volts, which is really nice. And actually, if you go to the overhead, Alex, what you're going to see on these things is that they always have their rating up front, and they do it in the number of cells.
Cells.
Okay. And think of those as lithium polymer cells, so 3.7 volts per cell.
Okay.
Right, so if it says 6, you take 6 times 3.7, and that gives you what the maximum voltage that this can take in.
Yeah, math.
And then this little jumper switch, this allows me to go between 5 volts and 6 volts. Now, always check this. Arduinos will work at 6 volts.
Yeah.
They don't like working at 6 volts.
They get angry at you?
They get angry at 6 volts. But what I've said this several times, what I love about the UBECs is it allows me to have a lot of flexibility in my power options. I can plug a 6-volt adapter into this. I could plug a 26-volt adapter into it, and it's always going to give me that nice clean 5 or 6 volts.
And isn't there like a smaller version of these where you use like a screw?
Right. Yes, those are the 99-cent versions that I got from Ready to Fly Quads. I still use those, but the problem is they don't output much wattage.
Okay.
So I could power an Arduino with that. I might power like a small string of LEDs, but this can actually power like one of those big strings of WS2812s.
Okay.
And they're not that big, so you can keep a bunch of them in your little electronics case.
Yay.
Yay. All right, let's move on. From power, this is actually something that a lot of people take for granted, connectors. Connectors are important. They don't seem important when you're putting together an Arduino project because you're like, I'll just solder directly from here to here to here to here.
Right.
Problem is, at some point, you're going to have to fix the thing.
Yep.
Or you're going to want to break it down so that you can use it for something else.
Right.
Connectors are always, always, always a good thing to
And
have.
they're cheap to get in bulk, right?
And very cheap to get in bulk.
Yeah.
Now, I use really 4 different types of connectors. I'm going to show you 3 different types here.
Okay.
The first type is this. So this is the 4-pin connector. And the reason why I like these is because they're standard. So I can take this, plug it in there, and now I've got a linked-up connector. I use this on the Aquavase. I use this on our RGB LEDs.
Right.
It allows me to have 4 straight connectors, and it's pretty solid gauge cable, which means I can get a decent amount of amperage through here.
Is this the same connector that comes with when you order a big strand of LEDs?
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
And we're going to talk about this when we get to the 3rd segment, because unfortunately, a lot of times you get cheap connectors. And I like replacing them with the more expensive. Remember last, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, when we did a Let's Solder for your picture frame,
okay,
the connector literally just fell apart.
Right.
And that's because it was uber cheap. Well, spend a little bit more money and get a decent connector on your device, and you won't have to worry about the cables just pulling out the first time you want to disconnect.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is because, like when I have a project like the WST12s, I need power and I need data.
Right.
I don't want to have 2 connectors, one for power and one for data. This way I can always use this. Now, if you're going to do this, however, you, in your mind, and maybe even in your notebook, you really should write down what you typically use the colors for. So for me, black and red are always
power and ground, right?
Always power, always ground.
Red
Green
is power,
is
ground.
always digital. That's
Okay.
always my digital data.
That makes sense.
So because I don't want to have 2 dissimilar projects that have the same connectors, and I go, oh, I plug them in, and I find out that I'm pushing power through my digital pin. That would be bad.
That would be bad, yeah.
Yeah, let's not do that.
You know when like LEDs get really hot and they're not...
Oh, you mean like when
Yeah.
you push 12 volts instead of 5 volts through a string that's supposed
They
to have
lit
just 5
up.
volts?
They
did.
just didn't...
Really brightly.
Right, for an instant, and then they didn't for a while.
Remember, folks, voltage can be your enemy. All right, let's go on from that. So we've got the 4-pin connector. The other thing that we want is we want JST. These, I love them because they're so cheap and they're so plentiful, and you can get them in multiple gauges. This, I think we got a pack of 100 of these things for about 15 bucks.
Yeah, and if you're familiar with any of the drone projects that we've done or any of the other battery projects that we've done, you use these like all the time.
All the time. They're great for power because they're 2-connector. But again, if you've got a project that's going to require more than 2 connectors, consider using the 4 pins.
That makes sense.
I just like having these because it also means that if I wanted to use something like the little JST batteries that we have from our quadcopters, these are perfect for them, right? Because I don't need any adapter. I just plug this in. All right. Something else you're probably going to want to get is the Walkera 2-pin connectors. This is what they look like. Brian, do these remind you of anything?
Yeah, they do. They look like the little battery connectors from our what was it? The
CMOS.
The Simon. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
quadcopters.
exactly what they are. These are designed for
Baby batteries.
Baby batteries, typically 1-cell, 3.7-volt lithium polymer batteries. The reason why I like this, and I've only recently started using this, is a lot of times I will pass both 12 volts and 5 volts over JST connectors.
Right.
I'm trying to break out of that habit because I want the JST connectors to only be 12 volt, and I want my Walkera to be 5 volt because I don't want to make that mistake of plugging a 5 volt device into a 12 volt source. That would be, again, bad.
Yeah, who would do that? Who in their right mind would plug those LEDs into that?
Yeah, don't feel bad. I actually did that once.
Well, the thing that threw me off is that they did work for a moment.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, oh, power supply must be okay.
So I
What's
thought it
that
was
smell?
I thought it was my programming that I had done something wrong with.
All right, so in the middle here, I've got nothing but power connectors and my jumpers. Jumpers, I didn't even list them because there are so many different ways to find them. But you can get male, female, whatever you need for your particular Arduinos.
Great for breadboarding.
Precisely. If you need a fast breadboard, you just want a prototype, those are always nice to have. And I keep everything, all of those cables, from power to jumper, in the middle of my case.
Right.
All right. Now let's talk about outfitting it past it. One of the things that we need to be able to do is to do some sort of input into our Arduino project.
So buttons and switches.
Buttons, switches, and contacts. Oh my, potentiometers. Right. So I've got a couple here. The first are these. If you go to this link, this is from Amazon. There's 50 of these for $7. So go ahead and get yourself a bunch of them.
Nice.
Yeah, they're nice and cheap. I mean, this is what they look like. So I've got an entire container filled with different size ones. The nice thing about these, actually, here, I'm going to sneak ahead in our list.
Is that a breadboard?
Is this a breadboard I see before me? I'm not real good with packaging.
It's a big one. No,
okay. So then what I like about these is most of these components are just the right size so that you can do something like, if I straighten it out a little bit, like this, where you can just pop them down on the breadboard.
Nice.
And they'll fit perfectly so that you can jumper into them. This is one of the nice things about using standard components, because these are, they're pretty much set for a 530 breadboard.
Ooh.
Pop that one out.
And they got a nice little click push to them.
Yeah. And if you go crazy, you can also get yourself, little button caps. These don't cost much. Like I got like 100 of them for $5.
Boop.
Yeah, you get a little arcade effect, right?
I think I want to use those on a project. I want to do the NES project again, but shrink it down.
Right,
and
get
then
a little clicky feel.
Little buttons for like the front of the case for power and reset.
Yeah, but definitely get yourself a bunch of these just because they are so cheap. I mean, 50 for about $7. If you go on eBay, you can find them even lower. Although, be careful because you can buy really crappy switches. Seriously,
how can you tell the difference though?
When you push them and they crack open, they're crappy.
That's when you physically have them, but if you're going to buy them, like, is there a certain price that, if it's below this price, you're guaranteed that it's going to be a crummy button?
That is the conundrum of eBay, which is everything looks the same because they're all using the same stock photos.
Right, it's up in the air.
Yeah, but it comes down to it's a vendor that you trust.
Okay.
I know that's kind of a cop-out because you don't know what vendor you trust until after you've trusted a vendor.
Yeah, right, after you've used them.
But once you find, like, I've got 3 vendors who have never done wrong by me. And my policy is all it takes is one bad experience and you're off the list.
Yeah.
Like, I will never order from you again. I ordered a string of WS2812s that ended up being horrible. Like the lights were inconsistent on the same string.
Okay.
And it looked exactly the same as every other string I had, but I was out
probably used
$30.
the same stock photo and all the same description stuff, and then it's not until you get it that you realize it's
precisely. Which is why sometimes I will pay the 30% more to get it from Amazon, or the 10% more from Banggood, because those companies actually do have a return policy.
Right. And I feel like when you're ordering in this kind of quantity, you just buy it once and you have it for years, probably.
Exactly. I bought, when I bought these, I made a mistake.
You over-order?
Well, because you know how on eBay, you add your cart. And then I kept shopping, and then I forgot I had added to my cart, so I added it to the cart like twice more. So I have like 300 of these things.
So you got a double order.
Yeah, it was nice. All right, so let's get a little bit bigger, because we want not just the micro switches, we want something that maybe stays on or off. This is what's called a momentary switch. It's only closed when I push the button.
Right.
A little clicky. But sometimes I want something like a power button that you click and it engages, it latches, and it stays on until you push it again.
Right.
And that's where I get these little green jobs. If you go to the link there, Alex, these are called SPST, single pole, single throw, latching push buttons.
Those are the ones I want, then.
Yeah, SPS. So a single pole, single throw, very simple. It means that there's one path that the flow of electrons can go through,
right? And
a single throw closes that path.
Okay.
So if you
nice little clicky to it. I know, right?
Yeah. And the nice thing about these is they're all a basic width. So once you have a template on your 3D program for having these types of buttons, they all fit in. And they just have a screw-in latching device.
Oh, okay.
They're nice though. Yeah, I really like those. And they're not that expensive. You get 20 for about $8. Again, all of this stuff is going to end up being under $60, but we have so many extras. I only have 4 of these in my kit, so you could make 5 kits out of this one batch.
Nice.
Yeah. Let's go on to the next one. Sometimes you need a little something. Remember, for the BFG kit, we wanted a switch that could also handle AC power, not just DC.
Wait. What was the BFG?
That was the Aqua Vase power
Oh, okay.
Base, full spectrum, and grow light.
Oh, that's
what were you
totally
thinking?
what I was thinking of. Yeah.
What else does BFG stand for?
Base something.
Big Friendly Giant?
Big Friendly, yeah. Not that movie.
But if you go to the link for this, these are the UXCELL. These are 2-pole. Again, single pole, single throw, on-off mini rockers. And again, they'll stay on as long as you have them clicked on. But these handle AC voltages as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so because, like for example, on the Aquabase project, I wanted to be able to control the AC pump from the same panel.
Right.
But I also wanted everything to look the same. So I needed something that worked just as well with AC as it does with DC.
There's something about the
right?
clickiness of a button, right?
It's like you could make a panel of buttons and then just have it at your desk, and people will sit down and just start pushing the buttons. That's just
people. I mean,
human nature,
you tend to push buttons, physical and mental, but also,
and especially if they have the click.
Right, like I almost just want like a panel that sits above my computer that has a different array of LED lights, and you can just click it, them on and off.
Yeah, that sounds stupid, but I would totally use it.
Right?
Just sit there. That turns on that light. That turns on that fan.
Yep.
This one makes the cow noise. Whatever.
Totally.
All right. And then let's move away from switches to something that we really started our Arduino stuff when we were doing it last year with potentiometers. 10K potentiometers. Here on eBay, this link here, super cheap. You can get 10 of them for $2. Again, this is one of those places where quality does matter because really cheap ones will tend to give you kind of unsteady output.
Oh, right.
And we're doing an oscilloscope episode in the near future, and I'll show you
because there is
a good pot and a bad one.
There's a variation, right? Even with the good ones, and then you set like the parameters in the software of like the range that you want.
Right, but what you want to see is like as you ramp up the potentiometer, you want to see a smooth curve or smooth linear line.
Spike.
You don't want to see it do this as it goes up, which is what really cheap, bad potentiometers will do because the wipers are not high quality. I mean, some of these, if you open them up, the wipers actually like come off the contacts as it's turning.
How does it work? Is it just a little? You say wipers, so is it like a little metal contact that touches?
Think of it as so you've got one power, one ground, and then you've got a wiper between the two that connects the two contacts. And as you turn that wiper, it's either allowing more or less voltage through those.
Okay.
But if you have a bad wiper and it comes off one of the contacts, every time it does that, you get a dip and a spike.
That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, not great. All right. For fun, we needed to include something else because this just gives us input. This gives us a way to put data into our Arduino. What about getting it back out? This is something that we saw when we did our Arduino 101 series. This is the Elegoo. I'm not sure what it's called. If you go to the link there, we found this. Oh, it's probably the wrong link. No, actually, go to that link. This is the Elegoo Electronics Component Pack. Inside of this, you will get like a momentary switch. You get a potentiometer, but more importantly, you get a bunch of resistors and LEDs. And the resistors and the LEDs are really what we're looking for.
I like the way it's laid out in the photo, too.
That's what's in there. Boom.
Nice.
And, you don't absolutely need this, but if you've got someone who you really want to learn the fundamentals of electronics as they're playing with their Arduino, this is a great kit to have. Because what it will do is it'll let them learn how to read the values of a resistor.
Yeah, definitely. By looking at the bands and the color and everything.
Precisely, which I'm still really bad at. Every time I'm at DEF CON, I ask Smitty to tell me what it is.
Well, he probably knows off the top of his head, but most people have to look at like a chart to figure it out.
Yeah, I'm still like that.
Yeah.
Also, you want this. These are 830-point prototype PCB breadboards. Again, super cheap. If you go to the link there, I think that's still an active link. I got 10 of these things for $22.
Nice.
You just get yourself a big pack because I love making projects with these because they're so easy to breadboard.
Right.
When you have something like this, which by the way, they will lock to each other. If you need a longer breadboard, they actually have grooves, so they'll keystone into each other.
Oh, very cool.
But it's a great way to put together a project, at least at first. I have a smaller version on this, but we've done larger and larger projects, so we need bigger and bigger breadboards.
Well, I think breadboards too are a safer bet if you're giving it to someone that you don't trust soldering. You know, so if they're not going to be soldering, go with the breadboard first.
Precisely. All right, so that does it with the do-it-yourself Arduino 101 kits. Hopefully, you've gotten a good picture of the components that you want to buy so you could put one together. And the nice thing about this is after you put it together, you still have a bunch of components for yourself.
Right.
Yay.
So you can do lots of projects.
Oh, yeah. Basically, all the projects we've talked about on Know-How.
You got buttons, you got LEDs, you got resistors, you got connectors, you got breadboards.
Yeah.
It's everything.
Go. I got there. When we come back, we're going to be moving from what goes into your Arduino 101 kit into what goes on your workbench. But before we do that, let's go ahead and take a moment to thank a sponsor of this episode of Know-How. Hey, Brian.
What's up?
You know, in the old day when I grew up,
Right.
yeah, if you wanted financial
Long time
transactions on your, you know, actually we didn't have web servers. If you wanted financial transactions on your mail-in scam.
Right. You had to work at it. Yeah.
You had to work at it. Well, I mean, when like the first time I ever put e-commerce into a website wasn't even really called e-commerce back then. It was strange because the credit card company didn't really know what I was trying to do. They're like, so are you going to get like emails of credit cards? And then you're like, no. I want something secure on the web.
Right.
And I had to make an agreement with them. I had to buy a physical box inside of a colo in Sunnyvale in order to get everything up and running. And then I kind of had to hire a firm to do pen testing because I was rolling everything on my own.
And this is just on the side of the job that you just want to get paid for.
I was actually supposed to be doing. Right. And so, you know, it's one of these things where, well, it's my reputation, it's my company, it's this company's customers. It can't fail. It can't go wrong because if all of that information gets out, it basically ruins me in business.
Yes. So make it easy for people to give you money, right?
I would love to make it easy, especially in the era of mobile app development. Fortunately, those people who grow up in today's wonderful day and age don't have to go through what I did because they've got Braintree. Braintree is the mobile payment solution for you. Now, by next year, maybe even next week, there could be a whole new way to pay. Maybe it will be the next Bitcoin or the next Apple Pay, or maybe even both. Fortunately, Braintree's full-stack payment platform is easily adaptable to whatever the future holds. That means that you can easily adapt too. You can accept everything from pounds to PayPal to that next big innovation from any device with just one integration. And when that new payment method does come along, all you have to do is update a few lines of code. You don't have to do what I did. You don't have to spend long nights in a colo debugging code, making sure that people won't be able to get in. Braintree takes care of all of that. Just add those few lines of code and your integration is ready to go. Now, you also get secure, simple payments, code that you can integrate very quickly. The Braintree code supports Android, iOS, and JavaScript clients. They've got an SDK in 7 different languages: .NET, Node.js, Java, Perl, PHP, Python, Ruby. It's elegant code with clear documentation. If you're a developer, really, this is your dream integration for payments. Braintree gives you an easy way to accept multiple payment types with one integration. Integrating it into your app is as easy as inserting a few lines of code. If you're not using Braintree, you're working too hard. Learn more at braintreepayments.com/knowhow. That's braintreepayments.com/knowhow. Braintree Payments, the smarter way to accept payments. And we thank Braintree for their support of Know-How. Okay, Brian. So one of the things that people have been asking recently has been, hey, when you guys do those Let's Solder projects, what's that little box that you have in front of you? And they think it's a Hako.
A Hako?
A Hako, which that's Smitty's. Smitty loves his Hako.
Right.
I've got a Hako at home. The one we have here is not a Hako because I'm cheap. I didn't want to buy a really, really super expensive one.
This is your all-in-one little soldering station.
This thing, you know, I have been impressed. We got this thing last year on a lark, because we did find a little bit of money. I had some gift certificates that we got from the Christmas party. I'm like, hey, let's buy a decent soldering station for Know-How. And this is the one that I got. I didn't expect great things out of it because it's $80. And my Hako was something like $500.
Right.
But this has turned out
so good.
This has turned out to be fantastic. So this is the Zenny. This is a Zenny 3-in-1 SMD soldering station. Let me. Oh, you know what helps when you
plug it in?
Yeah, the air gap is always a problem.
Okay, it's all.
There we go. So
it's all turned off.
What we have with this, when they say 3-in-1, it means you get a soldering station. You've also got a hot air gun, which you can use for either heat shrink or for SMD rework. So if you're doing surface mount, this is the way for you to like melt the solder over
That's
the
nice
entire
to
board.
have.
That's super nice to have, especially if you're doing the fine stuff. Plus, it does all of this. Look at this. This right here, this is not just a voltmeter. I have the ability to switch modes. So I can either detect amperage and voltage, or I can actually use this to push out voltage. So this is a power supply. This is really like a 4-in-1, not a 3-in-1.
Yeah, this is like anyone would be well off if they had this in their little workstation for making stuff.
Oh, and I like this. So this actually has a safety feature. When you have it in the cradle, if you go back to that side shot, when you have it in the cradle, this won't activate. But which one can you? I can't read backwards. Which one is the rework?
The rework, SMD rework.
Yeah, turn that on.
On.
There we go. So if I put it back in the cradle,
It
turns off. So it's a safety feature. I take it out of the cradle and it will go ahead and start heating up, which is kind of
Whoa, look at it go.
Yeah, it heats up really fast too. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Shut that off. It's burning my hand.
Sorry. Wait, which end do you hold it from?
If it smells like bacon,
You're holding the wrong end.
side.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. But this too, the soldering part, I'm assuming it's that, I can precisely set the temperature I want using this. And that is so important, especially when you get to fine microelectronics, because too hot or too cold, either the solder doesn't flow properly or you're starting to burn components and PCBs.
And it's super frustrating. Like,
Oh, it's horrible. I hate that.
Hey, already it's hard enough to do a job with the right tools sometimes, but using the wrong tools to do a job.
Yeah.
Like, I went back to one of our old videos, the Game Boy video that I did. I was just like, oh, I wonder how that video is doing. I saw some of the comments and it was like, you should die because you're soldering. Like, your soldering is bad and you should feel bad. It's like, I was
And you know, it's true, because I go back to some of the old know-how episodes, and when I was using that really, really old soldering gun that was like caked in carbon.
Yeah, pretty much just to prove that you could, right?
I remember Smitty saw that. He's like, no.
Like,
No.
You should feel bad.
The other cool thing about this is this comes with multiple tips, so you can change the size. Sometimes you need a blunt tip. Sometimes I'm mostly with the needle tip. But this has become an indispensable part of the know-how set, and it's replaced 4 different tools, which I love. I absolutely love. So if you're looking to get something like this, this is a Zenny 3-in-1 SMD soldering station. Did we already show them the link? Yeah, there we go. $80.
Look at all those tips.
$80. The leads for the tester. This is a solid device for you to get.
Cool.
Yeah. Everything, it weighs about 10 pounds. It'll do hot air between 100 and 480 degrees Celsius. It will do the soldering tip between 200 and 480 degrees Celsius. Amp meter, DC meter, power supply. Yeah, this is like your one-stop shop for doing things in your workshop.
It's even got a little handle so you can carry it around with you.
The one thing, and I've been wanting to create some sort of enclosure for this. This does have a tendency to just kind of fall off if you're wandering around, and like, you've got a handle, but there's no good way to carry that. I mean, I wish this was like attached.
Yeah, like a cradle kind of thing.
Yeah, go figure. But okay, that's not the only thing. If by the way, if you don't want to spend $80, get one of the super cheap ones I got for Brian.
Yeah, what was it? It was a Weller, right?
Weller 40 watt. No, and that's not super cheap. It's a good iron.
I like it, and it has the LEDs at the bottom of it, so you can see what you're doing.
Yeah. And those that's like $12.
Yeah, it's
not expensive.
The best that you can get for that money. But then the next step is.
The thing is, with the Weller, I will replace that 5 times before I even think about replacing this.
Right, and you use this a lot. So as far as stress testing and long period review,
I thought at $80, I'm like, oh, we'll use this for a couple of months and it'll burn out. But we've been using it, at least for me, on a daily basis. Every time I'm in the studio, I've got my iron on.
Oh, I know, because I smell the solder smoke. The fan you use blows right over to my desk.
It's not solder smoke. That's the smell of victory, Brian.
Sometimes it smells like chicken, though, so I don't mind.
Sorry about that. Okay, along with that is you're going to need one of these. Don't underestimate this. This is not just a cleanliness thing. A clean tip works a whole lot better. And anyone will tell you that if you allow your tip to get like my tip's typical,
keep your tip clean.
Yeah, Smitty will come by and make fun of you.
I know you say a lot too that Smitty has made you cry for how bad your soldering is. He takes that seriously.
He does. He gets. I mean, it's almost like it's a personal affront to him, where he's like, no, that can't exist in the world in which I live.
And he's not here to defend himself
He's not.
either. So.
He's not. Oh, by the way, we're going to meet up with him at CES.
Yeah, no, I'm excited about that.
We got to do something. We got to do something fun. Like meet at one of the microelectronics booths and solder their stuff.
Solder everything.
Just together.
Yeah, exactly.
One big glob of
Or
components.
like go to a restaurant and start like break out your Arduino kit and start doing a project in IHOP or something.
I want to take Smitty to our favorite crab place, Crab and Shrimp place. But he is one of these people who like he's lost 100 pounds in the last 2 years.
Yeah, actually.
And he takes his diet crazy serious.
Well, he's not diabetic, no.
No.
But I thought he was at first because when I had a discussion with him about nutrition, he knew like all about carbs and like how much of everything is in something, in like certain foods and things like that. And I was like, oh, so you're diabetic? He's like, no, I'm just taking my nutrition very seriously.
Yeah. I will say this, people think that either you have this, which is like the wet sponge, or this, both of them. Do both, because what you want to do is you want to first take your tip, so when it's still hot, take your tip and you kind of want to just get all the slag off.
Just dab it.
Just dab it. There's steel wool inside of here, and what it will do is it will help you clean the tip. And then what I'll typically do is I'll roll it just to sort of clean it, right? Who's mentioning it in the chat room? Creamy Corn Cob makes a very good point, which is a dirty tip ends up with a pitted tip. You're actually dealing with pretty caustic stuff here, and so if you just let it sit on that tip, over time,
it'll ruin the tip?
It will just ruin the tip. So it's not just a cleanliness thing. This is the longevity of your equipment.
Right, and then, just the sheer trying to get solder connected to something, like heating things up.
That's always fun, right?
Well, the problem that I would have with like some of the worst tips that I use, or the tips that I didn't take care of, is that the solder would glob onto the tip like after heating it up, and I could never transfer it to the thing that I wanted. It would just stick to the tip.
Well, there's a technique. What you do is, so you let the solder turn into like a little ball at the end of the iron, and then you just kind of...
And then you throw it on.
Throw it on.
That's seriously what I've done sometimes. It's bad. It's a cold solder joint. Yeah.
It's not even a joint. It's just a blob of solder randomly somewhere on the board. That's like not good.
Sometimes it works.
Okay, so the next thing we want you to get is this. This actually does save a lot of time. It seems really, really simple, but something like this is an incredibly useful piece of gear to have around here. So this is the Darknet badge from DEF CON.
And you actually attached all these little...
So those are all SMDs.
Right.
And what you don't want is, remember, so maybe you have your helping hands, but you've got one hand on the soldering iron, you might have the other hand on your solder.
Yeah.
And you don't want to have to worry about the position, the angle of the board, where it is, what you can reach.
Right, or if you apply pressure, it kind of pushes back or something like that.
Precisely. So this is, and we've got a link here for this, Alex. This is about $13. This is the Avon 17010. This slides back and forth down below, this little base. I can loosen these screws down there, and it will fit any circuit board that's up to the size of this crossbeam.
That's pretty good.
But then it holds it. I mean, see, it's like I can put it exactly where I want it to be, and it will just stay there. And I rotate it around. I mean, I have found nothing, including my helping hands, that has been more useful in soldering like controllers or Arduino boards than this. This thing is just fantastic. And it's for $13.
Yeah.
Pick yourself up one.
That's pretty
PC Guy 88 says he has a Panavice that works really well too. This is just a lot cheaper. So if you're looking for a goodie, this is a great stocking stuffer and it's not that expensive.
Yeah, $13. It's got little rubber feet on the bottom so it won't slide across your desk.
The feetses.
Nice.
The rubber feetses.
Yeah.
All right, last little bit. And I found this not too long ago, and I'm smitten. This is a really, really cool piece of gear. So this is, if you go to the link, this is from Banggood. It's $5. This is a DC to DC step-down power supply. I'm going to start including this in all of my projects. I love this thing to death. If you take a look, so what I've got here is this is 12 volts. So this is giving me 12 volts. This is hooked up to the input, and I'll do this. It'll power it up. And now I can use these little up and down buttons right here. Actually, do I have a better shot from the side? Or how about that? Hey, Brian, can you go come in on that camera?
All right. Enhance.
Wrong way at first. Here we go. So what this allows me to do is this allows me to individually to set voltages And it'll output that voltage here. So, but I get to see exactly what this is outputting.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and for $5, this is something that you really should have on your workbench.
Is this if it was a battery, it would tell you, or is that just saying, what is that? That looks like a battery meter.
Yeah, it's telling you how much current's going through there. I mean, if I have this hooked up to a battery, like a LiPo cell, it will actually tell me how full it is.
I like that.
Yeah. Now it's a little bit overkill for just like putting it into a string of LEDs that will only be 5 volts. But if you're ever making one of these projects that's going to be used for multiple devices, it's always nice to be able to turn it on and know exactly how much voltage is coming out. Remember how I talked about, I've been running into that problem where I have 5 volt and 12 volt.
And that's why you're going to use certain connectors for things? Yeah.
Precisely. But what if the second I turn it on, before I connect power, I know exactly how much power that's going to output. There's no risk of me accidentally
burning something out.
Yeah.
So what's the fun in that? Where's the adventure? Where's the clouds of blue smoke?
You and your blue smoke. Never understood that about you, Burnett.
You gotta live life on the edge. Just start plugging things into each other.
Get busy working or get busy making blue smoke.
Right.
Yeah. All right, when we come back, we're going to take all of this stuff and we're going to give you a little something fun. It's the holidays, Ryan.
It is the holidays.
And you know what? I think our peeps need to go home with some Christmas lights.
Whether it's for themselves or for a loved one that you want to show off for.
So we're going to do something super simple in just a bit. But first, let's go ahead and thank another sponsor, Brian.
Oh, we should.
This is a sponsor who I want to personally apologize for not using them recently in my time of need, because I did have a bag. We talked about this last week. I had a bag that was stolen from our garage on the campus of the school at which I live.
Right. I feel like, did you replenish your kit because that got stolen?
Well, no. So I have multiple bags, but the bag that they took was the one that I was actively using for prototyping. And afterwards, someone tweeted me and they said, well, why didn't you have a tracker in the bag? And I didn't have a good answer. I had a tracker upstairs. It should have been in that bag. In fact, there are now trackers in the stuff in my car and the stuff in my storage area, just in case it decides to go away.
Right.
Yeah,
It's not something you think of until it happens to you.
Yeah. Well,
so be proactive.
It's weird that in a world of smart devices, we can still do really dumb things.
Well, it's always the human factor, right?
Yeah. Well, folks, of course, we're talking about the tracker. It's a coin-sized device. The best way to make sure that your devices, your laptops, your phones, your gig bags, whatever it might be, don't walk away. How it works is really simple. It pairs to your Bluetooth-enabled phone, and it allows you to know when you're walking away. Let's say you're at a cafe and you start to walk away from your table, you can get a notification on your phone saying, wait a minute, you're leaving me behind. But the best part about the entire tracker system is the fact that it allows you to see your tracker even when you're not in range. That's because it uses a crowd GPS. I call it a mesh GPS system, which means as long as your tracker is within range of somebody who is using the tracker, you'll be able to use it. Tracker is the simplest method for you to be able to keep a hold and a track of all your stuff at all times. You can easily attach it to your item via loop or adhesive. It's enabled by Bluetooth LE, so the battery lasts for 1 year. It's really durable, so even when Cranky Hippo does that, it's going to work just fine. And there's a tiny little watch battery in there that lasts for up to a year. And unlike a lot of other devices, it's replaceable, which means that you're not going to have to throw away the tracker just because the battery dies. You can also add a laser engraved message to each tracker, Bravo, like return or pet info. And you can now personalize your tracker with a custom printed image like they did for us. We got our little know-how trackers. I'm so happy. You can pair your tracker to your iOS or Android device and find its precise location with a tap of a button. You can track up to 10 devices at once. You can also customize those two-way separation alerts so you're notified before you leave your item behind. And let's say you're looking for your phone. If you press the button on the back of a tracker that's paired with your phone, it will make your phone ring even if it's on silent. How about that for convenience? With over 3.5 million devices shipped, Tracker has the largest crowd GPS network in the world, so your lost item will show up on a map even if it's miles away. Now, even if you lose your item, the Tracker app records its last known location on a map, and when another Tracker user comes within 100 feet of your item, you'll receive a GPS update of where that item is located. Folks, it's time. Don't lose your stuff. Go to thetracker.com and never lose your possessions again. Plus, just for our audience, if you enter the promo code KNOWHOW, you'll get a free Tracker Bravo with your order. That's the Tracker, TheTracker.com, promo code KnowHow to get your free Tracker Bravo today. Never lose your stuff again with the Tracker. And we thank Tracker for their support of KnowHow. Okay, Brian, so you will remember this.
Oh yeah, I do remember this. This is your little waterproof kit that you
because it
made.
attaches to those. So
Yeah.
I wanted a little something that I could carry because I was traveling for the holidays, and I'll be traveling for the holidays again this year. But I said, you know what? Just because I'm not going to be at home, it doesn't mean I don't want the Christmas spirit.
Right.
So I got a bunch of these. These are WS2811 lights, a little string of 50. That they look like Christmas lights, right? I mean, that's how they're set up.
That's the point.
That's the whole point. Now, inside of this case is, there's a couple of things.
Can I open it? Or
Yeah,
you
here.
got it?
You
Oh,
play
can I
with
do
it,
the
Brian.
honors?
You do the honor. But
This
you
is
know
a
how.
solid case.
That is a super solid. You can run that thing over.
Right. You can't.
And
Can
I
you
did.
get these anymore, or can you find them on eBay? Or
No,
anything?
you have to get them on eBay because they don't make them anymore. But they're great. These were the Otter boxes.
Yeah.
Before Otter decided that cases weren't, because now they just make phone cases.
Right.
I miss these. But okay, so here we've got a UBEC. This is a 5-volt, 5-amp UBEC. This can actually supply multiple strings of LEDs.
Nice.
This is a full-size Uno. This is back before I was working with the Nanos. And I had a big case, so I might as well put a big one. And I also wanted to be able to prototype with it. That's why it's got these pins.
Right.
This is a line filter at the bottom because I didn't want the changing lights to affect the amount of current.
Right, because
that-
it'll be pulling different voltages.
Precisely. You know, blue lights use up more power than red lights. So when you're flashing, your draw goes up and down. I didn't want that to feed back into the Arduino. So that filter actually even though it's the same power supply, it separates the two channels. So you've got one channel going to the Arduino and one channel going to your lights.
And you just have this really clean goop of drilled some holes in it.
That's my Dremel tool.
It's seamless, really.
And then that's
Hot glue.
that's a bunch of hot glue. Okay, not great.
It works.
Yeah. Oh, and T. Scott, Otterbox no longer makes these, which makes these things like gold. I bought a set of 20 of these things.
Didn't Pelican make something similar?
They don't make anything. I mean, they make
like
like
that.
this size, but I need smaller. And this is perfect. The thing is, Otter used to give these away. This is part of their CES thing. Anytime you
Right.
stop by their table, and every year I would get like 5.
Why, thank you.
I knew the Otter people. They're very nice. So I have like 20 of them in storage, and then I bought another box of 10 on eBay, but they don't make them anymore. So if you've got them, hold on to
Then
them.
email Padre and he'll send you one.
No, no one gets mine. These are mine. All right,
You better
so
put a tracker on them because they might disappear.
here's how it works. I've got two sets here. This is for my data. So this is way back before I started using those 4-pin connectors. Otherwise, this would just be one connector.
Right.
So I got my data and I got my power. And now you see the problem. This is a 5-volt connector.
Uh-oh.
This is a 12-volt connector.
How would you know, though?
When you plug it in wrong and it hooks, and don't do that. So yeah, that's the issue. That's why I'm moving over to the Walkera connector.
Okay.
But when you connect this, what it's going to do is it's going to go through a set of code on the Arduino that will, give it a second,
Boom.
Now it's animating them. This is the 100 lines code. It's a demonstration code that was created for the fast LED library.
Right.
And all I had to do was tell it what digital pin these lights were connected to.
And how many?
So 50 pins, 50 connected to pin 7. That was it.
Cool.
And it would just run through this animation. Now, we've reused this code so many times. Like even the steampunk cyber goggles.
Yeah.
That's using a variation of this code that I wrote to allow me to change the animation pattern. But the animation patterns themselves were pre-written.
Right. You just segmented them to different potentiometer inputs.
Precisely. Yeah, so the way that this is working right now is there's a set of 6 of these animations, and it's just randomly choosing which one it uses.
Right.
What I could do with the potentiometer was I mapped the value of the potentiometer to the number of animations that there were. Actually, I added 2 animations.
Right.
And then as you turn it, it will choose one of the animation's functions.
So we could hook up a potentiometer, rewrite the code, and then you could set it to like, you know what, actually I want all the lights to be this pattern right now.
Right, and in fact, one of the ones that I added was, I didn't want, if I went to off, I didn't want the lights to just go off.
You faded them, right?
So they fade, right? So from whatever animation pattern it is, it freezes and then it just slowly goes to 0 on all values. And that's the kind of stuff I love doing because it already exists. You've already built it. And now what can you do with it?
You can tinker with it, yeah.
Yeah.
And
so
these are pretty bright. I like these. You could put these up outside too, right? These are all waterproof?
Yes, that's the other thing. So if you go to this, there should be a link for this, Alex. They're not super cheap, but they are weatherized and they're bright. They're really bright for 5 volts. About $12 to $13 per string of 50. And the nice thing about this is I can daisy chain them. This will use up about 2 amps at 5 volts. So I'm talking about 10 watts or so.
Yeah.
This power supply in here can give me 5 amps. So I can hook 2.5 strings, or if I was adventurous, I could hook 3 strings to this thing and just turn the brightness down so that it never goes over.
I see.
But don't do that.
Don't do that. Don't strain it.
Because if you do that, I guarantee at some point you're going to forget about that constraint.
Yeah.
And you're going to go back to your code. You go, how come I have this set for 60% brightness? Oh, let's go 100%. And then
done.
Blue smoke. But we're going to need the same project. I don't want to rehash everything because I've already told you how to make these things. But if you're going to be doing this for your house, you're probably going to need something a bit beefier than a UBEC designed for a remote control model.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't want you to have to spend a lot of money. So, hey Brian, you know what a lot of us have just sitting around our workshops?
What? Oh,
Maybe
an old PC power supply?
Yeah, ATX power supplies. Now, I'm talking about 10 watts. Or maybe if I hook up 10 of those strings, I might be pulling a whole 200 watts.
That's nothing for a PC power supply.
This is a 430 watt power supply. It's going to be able to handle it just fine. And
if you're trying to power a GTX 1080, you might have some problems.
It still won't run Crysis.
Whatever, yeah.
But okay, so what we can do with this thing is we can actually turn this into a workbench power supply, which is what we've done. Or in this particular case, we're going to turn it into the power of Christmas, Brian.
My God. Awesome.
Super simple. We're going to just run through this really quickly. So again, you've heard this from me a lot, and you've seen this a lot on TV. All ATX power supplies, if you go to the side view here.
Should we have like a as seen on know-how bumper?
As seen on know-how. This is one of the newer ATX. Let me actually see if I can remove this so that it looks like the older one. There we go. So that's what the original ATX looks like. It's 10 pins up and down, that side and that side. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then at the top here on the second row, 11, 12, 13, 14. You may notice there's a little...
There's a perfectly crafted paper clip that's in there.
That is a paper clip that I just snipped with my diagonal cutters, and I folded back on itself to the short pin 13 and 14.
Right, and that allows you to turn on the power supply because it makes it think that it's plugged into a motherboard,
Well,
right?
yeah, precisely. So 13 is the switch, is the actual switch.
Right.
14 is a ground pin. So all I do is I short 13 to ground, and the ATX power supply will power up as soon as I flip this switch. Now, what I would suggest is get a power supply that does have a switch. I know some of them don't, but the problem with using a power supply that doesn't have a switch, if you've got that jumper, anytime it's plugged in, it's
turned on, right?
Right. Yeah. So you do kind of want the ability to turn it off in case, smoke.
In case you need to be reminded, O is off and 1 is on.
Yay! How about that? Okay, so with this, what I get is a lot, because there are 2 different power systems inside of here. One that's providing 12 volts,
right,
and one that's providing 5 volts.
There's different rails, right?
Precisely, which makes this perfect for you because those WS2811 lights, there are 12 volt versions and 5 volt versions. I prefer the 5 volt versions just because it works with the logic that I'm already using.
Right.
Arduinos are 5 volts. But if you're going to be building one of these systems that you want as bright as possible, get yourself some of the 12 volts because they are a tiny bit brighter.
Got to push some power.
Yeah, and also it helps because remember, wattage, West Virginia, wattage equals voltage times amperage.
Yes.
Amperage is the dangerous stuff.
Right. It's not the voltage that
Not really
kill
the voltage, correctly. And also, I'm just thinking wire-wise, you can push more volts over wire than you can push more amps. Right. Amps are the things that will melt wires. So if you use 12 volts versus 5 volts, you can actually get away with lower amperage, which actually is good.
Okay.
But we're going to use 5 volts for this demonstration. So all that we've done is we've shorted through, And then I did, this is a super advanced connector, guys. You don't even know how special this is. I mean, that's
that looks slick.
it's a J.
That's a J, stands for Jank ST.
It's a Jank ST connector plugged into the Molex. Actually, what you really want to do is you want to find something like this, like in your old scrap bin, and you just cut and then solder on.
Yeah.
Now, quick note about this: on every Molex connector, you're going to find yellow, black, red.
Right.
The red is actually the 5-volt rail. The yellow is the 12-volt rail. Do not get that mixed up.
I'm thinking I'm probably going to get that mixed up. Yeah.
In fact, this would be the perfect time to use the voltmeter on the Zenny, just to make sure that it's 5 volt, make sure it's 12 volts.
All right, what's the two black cables then? Just ground?
Just ground.
Okay.
Right.
So
and actually, it doesn't
matter.
matter. There's not like the 5-volt ground and the 12-volt ground.
Right.
It's just
ground is ground.
Ground is ground. Ground goes to ground. But what we're going to do is we're going to use this part for the logic, but we're going to disconnect the power. Because what we want is to be able to daisy chain, because these are all set up to be daisy chain. They already have the connectors on them. But if I disconnect the power from that little enclosure and I run it through here, what it means is now all the power supply in this thing has to do is power the Arduino. Not a problem. That's super easy.
Pushing the data to the LEDs.
Precisely. And all the power comes from here. And this can run 40 of those strings at like 60% brightness.
And how many are on a string? Is
50.
it 50? Oh, that's pretty, wow.
And they're 12 bucks a pop, so you're probably not going to buy more than 10. 10 really, that like covers
that
the
could be
yard.
the front of your house, like all the gutters along the top over the door.
Precisely. And go back to last Christmas's episode where we did the Christmas lights, because it's the exact same code. All you got to do is tell it how many lights. It's a single string of digital LEDs. Just tell it how many lights and it knows how many to address. The animation that we created automatically adjusts for however many lights you have.
Right.
So as long as you tell it the right number of lights, it will stretch it out over the entire length of the string.
That's easy enough.
That's easy enough. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and
it's in the off position.
It's in the off position. We're going to power that up, and then I need to power up my Arduino. I could power this Arduino off of the same power supply, but I didn't do that because
that would take more time.
It would take more time, and we're out of time. All right, so there we go. So the Arduino is powered up, and as soon as I powered this up,
boom.
What?
Are they supposed to be really hot, though?
Don't even. That's not even funny. Now, again, if you are looking at a whole home situation, you're going to want a beefier power supply. And most of us have these things. I mean, I'm sure you've got one in your house.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
From probably... I mean, I've disassembled a few computers just that I've had in the past, and I always pull out the power supply, maybe like the heat sink just to hang on to, and the hard drives. Actually, that's another project I want to do. Old hard drives.
You know what even makes this better?
What?
The fact that I stole it from Burke.
He hasn't figured it out yet?
He hasn't figured it out.
It's okay. If he doesn't know, or if he hasn't figured it out by now, then he probably wasn't using it anyway.
Chat room, don't tell Burke.
Don't tell Burke. He doesn't work on Thursday, does he?
But what we're probably going to do is we're going to be expanding our use of this. This is, like we did this when we tore down the PC.
Right.
I actually repurposed that power supply. It was one of the janky ones that didn't even have an off switch. But that's actually powering the lights in the producer's room. So they're incredibly useful. Again, all technology can be repurposed.
So this one's you said 450 watt?
430 watt.
Or 430, which is pretty standard.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the economy PCs that you get have that, but is there a point where it would be too low or too high to use? I guess too high, there's no problem.
Yeah, I mean, you can have a 1,000 watt power supply, but it doesn't pull 1,000 watts. It maxes at 1,000 watts. If you're not pulling 1,000 watt from a power supply, it's not outputting 1,000.
Right.
So I mean, right now, if we put a meter on this thing, it's probably pulling about 10 to 15 watts, plus a little bit of overhead for the internal electronics, but not that much.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. So you could still power these LEDs and then have other test bench projects that you use. Yeah.
Precisely.
I like that.
But folks, we know that this has been a lot of information, and we're going to make it very easy for you to assemble your own Arduino 101 kit or to turn an old ATX power supply into your Christmas cheer. Just go to our show notes. Brian, where did they find those?
twit.tv/KH. And not only will you find show notes and all the links to these products that we talked about today, But you'll find handy links for downloading and subscribing to the show.
Indeed. Now, don't forget that we also have a social media presence on Google+. Just go to Google+ and look for the group Know How. Ask to join. There is a short approval process. I approve everyone, unless you're one of those spam accounts. But once you're in, you get access to over 10,000 Kitas. That's our know-it-alls. These are the people who have been in every step on stage of the know-how/DIY/maker journey. If you've got a question, they're the right people to ask. If you are an expert, you can help answer questions from the newbies. It's really just a good place to enjoy and express your tinkerhood.
Well, I think a lot of people use it to present projects that are better than ours. You know, they'll see one of the projects we do.
Most projects are better than ours.
And then they'll outdo us.
Yes.
But it's also the hive mind. You know?
Hive. Like
we can't know everything, so we share the knowledge.
Not at all. No. Don't forget that we are also on the Twitters. It's a great place to talk to us. If you don't want to talk about a project, I spend a lot of time geeking out. I watch a lot of anime. I'm a lonely man.
Dramatic, slow zoom on Padre.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. But you can find me on Twitter, twitter.com/PadreSJ. Follow me, and you'll see what I'm doing when I'm not in the studio.
That's right. Yeah, if you want to ask me a question, send me a message on Twitter. I'm usually quicker about answering questions than if you send me an email.
He's way better.
A little bit better. So you can follow me at cranky_hippo.
And don't forget that we've got a third member of our team. He's actually indispensable. He's a good guy. Check him out, ANELF3.
Darkness, my old friend. I'm coming to see you.
ANELF3. It's Alex Grumble. Grumble?
Grumple.
Gumple.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's that guy. Follow him. The one over at the desk.
Excuse me, Padre. That's pronounced Gumple.
It's
Gumple.
No.
Right.
No, I don't know.
No R.
Sorry. No. Must be new. Until next time, I'm Father Robert Balaser.
And I'm Brian Burnett.
And now that you know how,
go do it. All I can think about is
what happened there?